This is an emergency podcast of Canada Watching U.S. News, where we ask the question, what the fuck was that? My name is Brittlestar, not really.
And I'm Sandy Garossino, really.
And this is Canada Watching U.S. News. And I'll cut. We've just watched the presidential debate on CNN, and it was...
disaster.
It was not great. What were your expectations going into it, Sandy?
I'm sorry to say that my expectations were that I had hopes. I had hopes that because Biden he has in his way at different times had Trump's number. And
Sure.
on rare glimmers, mere slivers, tonight we saw a little bit of that. You know, you're just a whiner. You've never been able to, something snapped in you when you lost.
Yeah, you've
that
got
election.
the morals of an alley cat, which I quite liked. Yeah.
Yes. But so that was my hope. This was worse than my most horrible fear. I think we have to confront the fact here. I mean, this is him today. This is the best Joe Biden is going to be as president of the United States for 4 more years until 2028 to that campaign. You know, what can you say? It was an absolute total failure. And on the world's biggest stage, the entire country saw it. There's no sugarcoating it. That's it.
It was, you know, what's interesting is that he when he came out, I thought, this is no joke. I immediately thought of my father, who died in January of Parkinson's and Parkinson's dementia. I'm not suggesting that Joe Biden has either of those things whatsoever. But I had that same feeling of like, oh God, should he be out there on his own? I had that same panic feeling. And I know that sounds like hyperbole and I'm overstating it. And to an extent, it is overstatement, but not really. I thought to myself, oh no, this guy's not ready. Like he's not in a position to handle this. He's not coming out ready to fight. He's coming out thinking, got to keep remembering stuff.
Yes.
And two is, you know, and the thing I find that's most cruel, and I tweeted about this as well, as I am wont to do, that I wanted to know who set him up. I said, this is cruel for, you know, what I think, for all intents and purposes, is a good, smart man set up for failure. And it was so hard to watch because I think, you know, you've got the combination of his age and everyone's going to end up, if they're lucky, they're going to end up like that. But then he has to combat his stammering and his speech impediment, which he does great. But that comes in, you can see that's coming into play again.
Yeah.
And
this is not Mick Jagger. We're not looking at Mick Jagger.
No,
here.
Exactly. There was a couple of things that really I thought were really summed up the debate really well that I saw online when I was watching it. And I'll see if I can pull them up here. One is Biden. Look, the fact is we don't. Look, here's the deal. And this is no fooling. And then Trump would respond with, there are 10 billion Guatemalans attacking the Lincoln Memorial right now. So,
I'm going to cry. You're going to make me cry. You made me do this, Stuart. I'm not going to forgive you for this. You made me do this. I was afraid.
In the long run, it'll be good for us to do this.
I didn't want to watch. I didn't even want to watch this. I was afraid. I wanted to hide under my bed, but I couldn't fit under my bed. It was the whole thing was just so fucking depressing. So where are we now? I mean, within 5 minutes, everybody's saying he can't be the nominee, and so we're further on now. So what now? What now?
I was shocked. I hadn't fully taken in the fact that at the debate, I believe it was the beginning of the debate, Jake Tapper had said that or maybe it was Dana Abash had said they haven't had leadership voting yet, and so they haven't officially been nominated as their leaders. For sure, Trump's not going to be kicked out. He's not going to be kicked out. He's their guy. and that's
Yeah.
what that is. What it is. I cannot see the Democrats looking at Biden and saying, "Yep, he's definitely got. Listen, we're just getting started." I mean,
Well,
it's
if they're thinking that we're
and
all going to hell, we're
and
going to fucking hell.
it's so
It's a
frustrating.
nightmare.
And as someone, I had two people comment online. I said online, I said, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? It said, they should have had Biden start the debate an hour early because he's just getting up to speed now. And I had two people saying, that's not funny. I usually agree with you, but that's not funny. And I get it because those people are thinking Trump is horrible. We need to support Biden. My view
Yeah.
is this is too important. We can't just put this poor guy up there
No.
who's got good
No.
policy.
No.
He's got, he's a smart dude. I think he's a good guy, but he's just
He's the
not
best president America has had probably since FDR. He is a spectacular president. But, and this is not just about winning. This is also about being president for
Yeah.
4 years. And we know that Americans have the attention span of a gnat, but this is going to go in. Like he's not up to it. And I'm somebody who was always I was always defending him, but this
Sure.
has been this has been a discussion point for years. Should he seek a second term? Should he be the nominee, etc.? And I always took the view that, well, he's been a spectacularly good president. I still think he is a good president because I think that when he is focusing on issues, he's got the right and experienced handle on all of this. But he doesn't have 4 years in him. That's really clear. And I always defended and supported him because I thought he had a superlative cabinet, and you change horses in midstream and a lot of things can come apart because there's a huge amount of planning that has gone into all of the legislative initiatives that he has brought. And he has also been a miraculous president in his effectiveness with Congress.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, given how divided and partisan Congress is, that Joe Biden has managed to shepherd through crucial climate and technology and employment initiatives and get those things passed, and support for Ukraine. I mean, it's almost unimaginable that anybody else who does not have the experience with Congress, does not have the experience of how to like negotiate those things, because that's not just a simple matter of, well, this is a good policy objective, let's do this, everybody vote yes or no. That's not how Congress works. There's huge amount of horse trading that goes on in all these things, and he has been superlative. But I think so I've always been, there probably aren't very many people who are not kind of deep in the Democratic Party who've been more supportive of Joe Biden. But like this has to be faced, and it has to be faced right now, tonight.
I think so too. And you and I were texting during the debate, and you had said, I hope that there's lots of phone calls happening right now. And I mean, I hope so too. Again, as you mentioned, Biden's been a pretty remarkable president, but he's just, these things are won and lost on sound bites and clips. And the sound bites and clips, even though Biden had some good zingers in there, like he brought up the porn star thing, and I love the fact that Trump said I did not sleep with a porn star. But I don't think he was denying it. I think he was like thinking to himself, listen, she's not really star quality. She's probably more, she's just a well-known face.
There was no sleeping. There was no sleeping.
Exactly. But my concern is that these things, like these elections, are won and lost on these clips and these sound bites. And I think especially for younger voters in the U.S., I can't imagine. Like I think the biggest loss is going to be apathy. There's going to be a feeling of like, what's the point? This is a joke.
I,
There's
I
this,
was I was getting texts from my son who's in the U.S. and he's just like he's just had it. He's incredibly angry
sure.
about where things are. Yeah, and
Well, yeah.
as are many people.
Well, I had one friend of mine who lives in the States who is considerably younger than me, but he's maybe just in his early 30s, I think. And he tweeted out, "Are either of these guys going to last 4 years? Like legitimately? Like he wasn't making a joke. He was like, are they? Like this seems ridiculous." And I think that was what's so angry and so disheartening about it, as we said earlier, is that it's such an important election because I think not everybody, but certainly a large number of people look at Trump and realize, as we've talked about numerous times, that's not a good path. That's not this. You guys don't know what you're getting into in that path. But then you look at Biden, you think, oh, this is just not the guy to lead the fight. Like he's a good dude, but he's not the guy to lead the fight.
And not only is he not the guy, this suddenly puts Kamala Harris front and center. And Kamala Harris, and it's like I have such a great record of supporting people because I've always liked Kamala Harris too. I liked her when she was the Attorney General of California. I liked what she was doing on technology back then. But we have to face the fact that this also is not an electable person. Kamala Harris does not have the it quality. She doesn't have it. So now what? Do you have any idea what the procedural?
I don't know what the procedural things are that go into who can get to do what. I think if the past like since 2016 has taught us anything, maybe it doesn't matter what happens. Maybe it's just sort of anything goes. Maybe there's no rules to follow. I'm not sure.
When is the convention?
Let's find
We have
out.
to Google the convention.
We have to Google the convention. I'll let
When
you
is
do
the-
that because you've got your reading
Okay,
glasses up.
you keep talking.
I'll keep talking.
You blather away there, Stuart.
Okay, good. I do want to make sure I credited the 10 billion Guatemalans tweet to at Drew Yanda, just to make sure that they know that was a really good tweet. I liked it. The other tweet I really enjoyed was by Robbie Slowick.
August 19th to 22nd. There's time.
So there's lots of time. Robbie
Sorry, I
Slowick on
interrupted
Twitter
your-
said, no, that's okay. It's just Robbie's tweet. This is his moment in the sun. He's doing
Go,
fine.
Robbie.
Don't worry. He said, I say give both of them a Roku remote and the first one to start a movie gets to be president. It reminds me of a Billy Connolly joke when he's talking about Ronald Reagan, who was 74 at the time. And he said, 74 years old, and the man's got his hands on the button to launch the nuclear weapons and nuclear bombs. My father's the same age, and we don't even give him the remote for the TV. And I mean, the age thing the age thing to me doesn't bother me, but it's just like, it's just appearance. It's all optics. It's all optics.
It's about vigor. And Trump looked, there was a mention, he's only 3 years younger or whatever.
Yeah.
He looked 20 years younger. And for all what's he jacked up on, I think it's pretty clear Trump was probably jacked up on something.
Yeah, I know. I
Because
know.
they always do that projection. But the convention is in August. I think this party has to, wouldn't it be fun? Stuart, I don't know how old you are, but I am old enough to remember these crazy ass conventions where it was all wide open and it was all on television while it was happening. And like so-and-so was going to drop out and where would their followers go? We used to have this in Canada too before we had that took all the fun out of any of this stuff. These were really exciting things. And that could be a huge lift of vigor and excitement for the party if they suddenly threw this wide open and said, delegates, pick your candidate, and people throw their hat in the ring. I don't know if procedurally that's possible, but there's
there's a
There's 2
need.
months to change the rules.
Exactly. To change the rules. Exactly.
And I think they have to be, that has to be the question right now.
It
That
has to
has to
be.
be.
It's too important of an election. It's too
Yep.
important of a point for not just the U.S. but
Yep.
for the world. And I just can't imagine. I think every pundit I was following along tonight as well was saying the same thing, basically saying
Yep.
this is he just can't run, and that's no slight
Barack
against the
Obama
man.
has got to go over to that White House and
Yeah, yeah.
sit down and talk to
Well, I
him.
was thinking about, I said Shannon and I were watching it tonight, and in between drinking wine and crying, we said to each other, "Can you imagine Trump up against someone like an Obama, who was a great orator, is still a fairly young dude, and he would wipe the floor with him. He would make him look ridiculous." And I think Biden's got the smarts to do that. He just doesn't have the ability to do that. He doesn't have the
No.
physical ability to do
No.
that. And it's so sad to watch. I think that was the worst part about it, was the sickening feeling. I think Rex Hupke, who was the satirist for USA Today, and he said that he had the same sinking feeling in his stomach as he did at the election of 2016. That idea of like, oh dear God, we somehow messed this up. Like, how have we let them get so far? And it's so true, and it's so distressing. So who do we? I mean, if there's a possibility for them to replace Biden, I feel there's a possibility to have him gracefully bow out because of health reasons or something. I don't know.
Yep.
So that he retains dignity, and whatever the story is, he's able to go, you know what? I got to step back and take care of this. And I think everyone would be like, that's great. You did a great job. Awesome. Fantastic. You're amazing. I think he'd be celebrated as a bit of a hero if he did that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Who takes his place? I mean, I know there's a Republican theory that that keeping Biden in his position has been nothing more than a plot to make sure Michelle Obama runs. I've seen that written a number of times.
Michelle
imagine that.
Michelle Obama is not going to run. Let us stop that. And if she did, if she did, I mean, I wrote this about Hillary Clinton in August of 2016, is that everybody was talking about, well, it's because Hillary is such a bad candidate. Hillary was not a bad candidate, because
No.
everybody then was saying, oh, it should be Warren, it should be Michelle Obama. Well, look what happened to Warren when she ran. Like, the knives come out, and they are slasher knives. And Michelle Obama would be like, this would just be, anyway, she's not going to run. She's too smart.
Why would she? Yeah, exactly.
So, obviously Gavin Newsom, I love Big Gretchen Whitmer from Michigan. I think she'd be a phenomenal candidate. I love Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is not a winner. She's not going to beat Donald Trump.
No.
And so I think Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer, Pete Buttigieg, he's been, every time I see that guy, he's knockout in, lights out intelligent, like just so smart. And maybe, I've always, first of all, I've always loved him. But then as this whole anti-woke backlash really gained steam, I thought, well, he could be really damaged by the whole the anti-gay thing.
Yeah.
But I actually think maybe that wave has kind of crested a bit, because he is so good. I don't know. Anyway, those are the names I think about. What do you think
I think so.
about?
I mean, apart from Pete Buttigieg, I agree, and I've certainly seen a number of things. I watched a clip of him tonight. Actually, he's just whip smart and super fast on his feet, and it just seems like a super smart guy. As a Canadian, I haven't forgiven him for the bread price fixing yet, but apart from that, I think he'd
Which
be
was
okay.
all his fault.
It was all his fault. Exactly, all Pete Buttigieg's fault. And I can see that happening. I can see that I can see his, his personality, his character would maybe be a nice antidote to the whole sort of anti-woke thing. Because I don't think he's not a particularly lefty guy.
No.
And I mean, Gavin Newsom, I think you're right, is a possibility. I think he's got the haircut for it. He's certainly walking around like he wants to be president. That's for sure. And he seems like an okay guy. And I think there's a weird Shakespearean thing, isn't there, with him and Guilfoyle. What's her face? What's her name?
Oh
I've lost
yeah,
her first.
that's right. Guilfoyle.
Kimberly Guilfoyle, who
Who's
is
now with Don Jr. Well,
exactly.
she can sure pick winners.
Yeah. So it's a little
Almost
bit
as good as me.
Well, that's a separate emergency
Yeah, that's separate
podcast.
issue. Separate, but not related.
But I think that it's a little too Shakespearean for me, but it's entirely possible. It's entirely possible that Gavin Newsom would run. I mean, in all honesty, it's not going to happen. But I wouldn't be upset if Hillary Clinton came back. I think she'd come back and she'd wipe the floor with them. Except I don't think anyone likes her.
She's not likable enough, and I think she's polarizing, right? Because she's too good. Hillary Clinton. Here's my theory on Hillary Clinton. I would love to see Hillary come back. I'd love to see her clean Trump's clock, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But we have to face the fact that Hillary Clinton is not a great campaigner. She might be the most qualified person who ever ran for the presidency. She might be a phenomenally a hugely competent leader, of the same brand as Joe Biden, as he's run his government. But I think her day is done. Her sun has set, and it's all that it's not going to happen. But I always feel like Hillary Clinton was like that girl who sat in the front desk at school from kindergarten on and got all the answers right. And every time the teacher asked a question, she put up her hand and she knew the answers, and she had and her handwriting was perfect, and she had all her pencil crayons, and everything was underlined in the right places. In the right, me, I was just like all over, like everything was a mess. So it's like, the dog ate my homework how many times? But so I think that she actually has a built-in resentment for being too good. I think she's that, because whoever liked that girl in school, like everything is like,
I know what you're
saying.
saying.
Politics is all about, it's just like school.
Yeah.
You know that thing about everything I needed to know I learned in kindergarten? Well, that's because
it's pretty much it.
Life actually is kind of like school, and people don't like the really smart girl. They just don't. She's never really that popular. I'd hate to say, sorry, all you girls. You go, girls. You'll have big futures.
Exactly. Plus, why be president? It sounds like a terrible job. I don't know. I think I love Gretchen, and I think she's cool, but I don't feel she has enough celebrity to her to run successfully. Though that doesn't take long to fix. We're going to keep this short, because it's very late for me, and it's not late for you, but it's late for me, and it's past my bedtime, and I need to go cry myself to sleep. But I'm going to finish off with an optimistic take on tonight, if we can find the optimism in tonight. And I think for me, there are two parts to it. One is I feel the people that know Trump is a moron, and know that Biden's the better candidate, are still voting for Biden. Even if they stick with him, they're still voting for Biden without question. Let's not think about the people who haven't decided, or are on the fence, or in the middle, in that weird little percentage that Bruce mentioned, that I called lovingly morons. But let's.
We're gonna come back to that. By the way,
we'll see. But let's focus on the fact that those people that are going to vote Biden are still going to vote Biden, and that's somewhat reassuring. I also thought momentarily at the end of the debate, near the end of the debate, when Biden really started to kind of come into his own again, and he was getting a bit more clear, he was getting a bit more calm, and you could see oppositely, Trump was starting to decline a bit. He was starting to ramble, and he was starting to mix his words up, and more than they both had been doing earlier. And you can tell he was getting a little bit irate. That was the end of his amount of tolerance and patience for the event. And I thought there's a little bit of smugness in Trump, and that he would not answer a question. He would answer the question before. So they'd ask the question A, he would not answer that question. They'd ask him question B, he would answer question A, and he's just giving himself time to process. Really smart, but anyway, that's like that smugness and that arrogance in contrast with Biden, who comes across as like, he's a pretty good guy. He just shouldn't be up there. I'm hoping that some people are like, you know what? Trump just came across a little bit like a bully and an idiot. I'm hoping.
No,
Probably not.
This is about, remember, swing voters in swing states. This is not about people like Stewart. This is about the swing voters in swing states. And I think, and the other thing that this is about, donors.
Oh.
What are the people who are going to be writing checks for tens of millions of dollars going to do about this? And those are the those are the people who are on the phone right now. And I actually think, if you think about it, what does America love the most? America loves a great show. And if something, some terrible thing happens and poor Joe Biden, has been diagnosed with something and he can't continue, yada, yada, and we have to have like suddenly a wide open primary, or not a primary, but a wide open convention in August, just before the election. And suddenly all of these people, like stars will be born over this.
True.
It will be electrifying. The media will freaking love this because they're so, and America will love it. So that's my vote. My vote is for, let's change this channel. Let's ignite this whole thing and start with something new. And it could be one of the most exciting moments in American politics in decades.
See, that wasn't so bad. We finished off on a high note. That's pretty good. I mean, that's good. Let's quickly finish before it goes sour again.
This is before our hopes are dashed again.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for listening to this has been an emergency podcast of Canada Watching U.S. News. It is time for me to finish my glass of wine. Sure, it's just the first one. And
the bottle.
Exactly. And then just cry myself to sleep. You can always, of course, follow us and subscribe at CanadaWatchingUSNews.com. You'll get an email notification whenever we post a new podcast episode. Or, of course, you can follow us on your favorite podcasting platform, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts. Hey, you pick whatever you want. It's up to you. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody. It's an emergency. Let's go.
My name is Brittlestar, not really.
And I'm Sandy Garossino, really.
And this is Canada Watching U.S. News.